Good Monday morning. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Ellison Barber in for Savannah Sellers. Right now on Morning News Now, failure and fallout. New developments following the historic collapse of one of the tech industry's top banks. This morning, an international banking giant announcing a rescue deal for part of Silicon Valley Bank as U.S. regulators work to protect deposits and put an end to the panic.
Not a giant tech startup. You're not investing millions. This is your livelihood.
It is. And it affects, like I said, it affects us putting food on our tables next week.
We'll break down the latest and what it could all mean from Silicon Valley to Wall Street and beyond. Also this morning, 1-2 punch, millions of Californians bracing for another major storm in areas still recovering from heavy rain and flooding. More on the evacuations and rescue efforts underway. And back east, we're tracking a separate system taking aim at the Northeast with heavy snow, rain, and wind. We have team coverage this morning. Beware, a stern new warning from state officials in Texas to avoid travel to Mexico this spring break. This comes after that deadly kidnapping that left 2 Americans dead. More on the message and what travelers need to know. And first time for everything, history made on Hollywood's biggest night as Everything Everywhere All at Once dominates the Oscars, capping off an improbable and impressive award season run. We'll bring you some of the night's most memorable moments from the stars to the snubs. It was a busy night. You had to stay up for it,
I was up
right?
late,
Okay.
so if I have a few bags under my eyes, that's why, because I got about 4 hours of sleep last night.
I'm excited to be here with
Good
you.
to have you with us.
All right, this morning, there is some relief for customers after the historic collapse of Silicon Valley Bank.
Yeah, after shutting down one of the tech industry's top banks on Friday, federal authorities say they will fully protect money deposited at SVB, and customers will have access to all their money beginning today. But yesterday on CBS's Face the Nation, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen made it very clear the federal government is solely focused on helping depositors get their money, and she said the government will not bail out SVB.
During the financial crisis, there were investors and owners of systemic large banks that were bailed out, and we're certainly not looking, and the reforms that have been put in place means that we're not going to do that again.
And many tech companies abroad are also breathing a sigh of relief. This after the largest bank in Europe, HSBC, announced it is rescuing the UK subsidiary of Silicon Valley Bank after all-night talks. For more on all this, we are joined by NBC News senior congressional reporter Scott Wong and Investopedia editor-in-chief Caleb Silver to help us break it all down. Thank you both. Scott, let's start with you. In a tweet last night, President Biden said he was firmly committed to holding those responsible for this mess fully accountable. We know senators received a briefing from the Biden administration on SVB last night. What can you tell us about all this?
Well, obviously, this has been a big topic all week, and it's going to be a big topic on Capitol Hill all week. We will hear directly from the president later this morning, who will address the issue and the actions that his administration is taking to try to stem some of the concern about the markets and in the banking system in general. What we know is that last night, Treasury and Federal Reserve officials from the administration briefed all House and Senate lawmakers. There were some that were left off the call due to the hastily arranged phone call. But we also heard those officials brief reporters as well. And what we heard is pretty much what you laid out and what the Treasury Secretary laid out, that folks who put their money in these banks, both Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank of New York, will be made whole. They will be able to access all of the funds, even beyond the $250,000 federally insured limit, as soon as today. The Treasury officials also really emphasized that taxpayers will not be on the hook. This money is coming from an insurance pool that banks pay into periodically. And so this money is not coming from out of taxpayers' pockets. And that is something that this administration really will be emphasizing throughout this week as Republicans attack this plan of action as a bailout. It is, in fact, not a bailout as we have seen in past economic crises. So that is certainly very important. We'll hear from the president later this morning.
And Caleb, let's talk about the what and how. This is not, SVB is not a small bank, right? It's the 16th largest bank in the United States. How did it fail, and what does it mean, big picture, for the rest of the economy?
Well, big picture for the economy, I wouldn't worry too much unless we have several more of these failures, so to speak. But why did it happen? A lot of these banks, what do they have to do with the money they're holding, the deposits? In the case of SBP, that was $172 billion. They have to invest in it, and they were invested in government securities. But you guys know the impact of rising interest rates is not just something we feel through inflation. You feel it if you're holding those assets as a bank. So the value of the assets they were holding were dropping in value because of what happened last year. So rising interest rates have this big impact, and it hurt the balance sheet of this bank. When depositors came for their money, they just didn't have it, and that's how this happened. We have to see what other banks are holding, but you can't ignore the fact that rising rates have had a big impact here.
So this is the second biggest bank failure in U.S. history. It's the biggest we've seen since the financial crisis back in 2008, and people are watching this and saying, okay, is this going to be a similar scenario? Are we going to see this spread? Is this different? And if so, how?
Yeah, it's different because back in 2007, 2008, banks were holding on to mortgages that were undervalued as well. There was systemic risk across the banking industry, not just here in the U.S., but across the world. Right now, we're talking about some big banks, but not as big as the biggest banks in the world that hold trillions of dollars in assets. The economy is going to be okay. The banking system is going to be okay. But you have to listen closely when you hear Treasury Secretary saying things like systemic risk, and we're trying to prevent a bank failure here. That's important to listen to. We got to watch what happens next.
We'll be keeping an eye on it. We know you will, too. Thank you so much, Caleb Silver and Scott Wong. We appreciate your time. Now to weather and serious conditions to talk about all across the country, really.
This morning, millions in the Northeast are under winter alerts. A major nor'easter is expected to bring snow, rain, gusty winds to part of this region where we are through Wednesday. In the upper Midwest, heavy snow and blizzard conditions swept across parts of the region yesterday, bringing more than half a foot of snow to some areas. But the big story this morning is out in California, where they're dealing with serious flooding, overflowing rivers, and in one case, a levee breach. All of this as the state is getting hit with more heavy rains and snow.
Yeah, we have full coverage this morning. NBC News meteorologist Michelle Grossman is standing by with the forecast. But first, let's go to NBC News correspondent Niala Charles, live in Pajaro, California. Morning to you there. Tell us what is happening. What are you seeing where you are? This is the scene of a massive flooding this morning after a levee broke. How bad is it?
Ellison, the entire town of 1,700 people here in Pajaro have been evacuated under evacuated orders, with the last people being rescued and evacuated last night. The people who live here received that evacuation order Friday around midnight as the atmospheric river passed through and the levee broke. Since then, in the last couple of days, the water has been rising. It's up to 3 feet of standing water in places. That means people had to leave their homes and lives behind quickly, and it could take months for the homes to be repaired in this migrant community. Ellison?
So, Niala, this is a community that's under mandatory evacuation orders. What else can you tell us about that and how the community is preparing for potentially another round of storms in this area on Tuesday?
The people who live here have been evacuated to evacuation centers across the county. All they can do at this point is hope and wait for the best as officials try to repair that dam, as another atmospheric river is expected to pass through this evening. And if with that comes several inches of rain, that could be detrimental given the existing damage. Ellison?
What sort of resources are available for people who are having to flee or who just need some sort of time to get back on their feet?
There's things like mental health support. As you can imagine, this is a very difficult time for families. Their situation changed very quickly, and they've already had been recovering from a last wave of atmospheric rivers just months ago. Ellison?
All right, Niala Charles, thank you so much for that.
All right, Michelle Grossman is here now with more on the situation in California and the forecast for the rest of the country.
Yeah, good morning, Michelle.
Good morning to you both. And unfortunately, we're watching another atmospheric river event setting up really tomorrow. So starting later today into tomorrow. Then on the East Coast, we're watching that developing nor'easter. Same story. It's sort of the calm before the storm this morning. And then we'll see it develop later on tonight and tomorrow. We're going to see really strong winds, some snow, and also some rain. So this morning, 25 million Americans under winter alerts. You can see them stretching throughout the West into the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes, into portions of the Northeast as well. We have look outside because it's a gloomy start to the day. This is what we're looking at right now. Wait till tomorrow morning. We could see some snow at this hour tomorrow, but it's foggy. We have low clouds. We have drizzle. This is the calm before the storm, but not a great morning commute either in New York City. Not a great commute tonight, and then especially not tomorrow morning. So there are 25 million Americans under winter alerts. Where you see the alerts in pink, that's your winter storm warning. Winter storm watch is in blue, and a winter storm advisory is in white. So certainly plenty of weather to start out this work week, and this is going to be going until Wednesday, both these storms. Let's start with the nor'easter because we're looking at heavy rain, some snow spreading across the Northeast, a cold rain throughout the day for the I-95 corridor. We could see that already starting at this hour. Where you see those brighter colors, that's where we're expecting the heaviest rain. So this area of low pressure is going to develop off the coast. Then by tomorrow, we're looking at really heavy snow bands. We could see 1, 2, 3 inches per hour developing over portions of the Northeast. That would be interior parts of the Northeast. And then the winds are going to be howling as well. Strong winds gusting up to 40 to 60 miles per hour along the coast. That's going to cause some power outages. It's going to be cold with temperatures at or below freezing in many spots. So certainly power outages could cause some problems. Then by Wednesday, we just see it sitting and spinning along the coast there. It's not going very far, so we're looking at still that system stalling off the New England coast. We're going to see snow, some strong winds lingering across New England. That could lead to more potential power outages. So this is a 3-day event, really ramping up tonight into tomorrow. So in terms of your impacts, we're looking at snow, we're looking at rain, and we're also looking at some really gusty winds. Localized amounts up to 2 feet of snow through Wednesday. Again, seeing snowfall rates 1, 2, 3 inches per hour. This is going to make travel very difficult, if not impossible in some spots. Where you see those brighter colors, the pinks and purples, that's where we're expecting the highest amounts of snow. We'll go over those amounts in just a bit. Damaging winds, too, especially along the coast with winds gusting up to 60 miles per hour. Strongest during the day on Tuesday, but still whipping on Wednesday throughout parts of New England. Snowfall totals is March 13th. Doesn't this really just make sense, right, for this winter because it's been so strange? Of course, we're talking about a nor'easter on March 13th. So we're looking at, did I say March 1st, March 13th? Not to confuse people. Augusta, Maine, we're looking at 8 to 12 inches. Boston, you could see 4 to 8 inches. 1 to 3 in New York. That's going to be a slushy snow. The other snow is going to be that heavy, wet snow, so really difficult to shovel, and that creates some health problems, so be careful as you're shoveling tomorrow. Albany, 2 feet of snow in some spots. Syracuse, 12 to 18 inches. Scranton, you're looking a lot too. A half a foot of snow, even up to 8 inches in some spots. Also looking at a lot of rain because we have a lot of moisture with this system. We have a lot of cold air in place too in many spots. So 1 to 3 inches of rain may cause some flooding. Where you see those brighter colors, the oranges, the yellows, that's where we're expecting the highest amounts of rain along the coast, especially with those winds too. Let's talk about the West because we're looking at many flood alerts, 17 million people impacted throughout Oregon, the Pacific Northwest, into California. That includes Eureka, into Lake Tahoe, Fresno, also Bakersfield. And we certainly could see some flooding once again, even some flash flooding. This is the risk for today, where you see the pink, that's your moderate risk. That's going to be the highest threat. And then a slight risk is in the blue, and that includes most of California, at least the northern parts. And we're going to extend that into Southern California tomorrow. So again, where you see that reddish blue, reddish pink color, we're looking at moderate risk through Yosemite into portions of Southern California, just north of Los Angeles. Once again, we don't need the rain here. We don't need the snow, but we're going to be measuring this snow in feet once again, and many inches of rain. Some spots could see 7 inches of rain. This is what it looks like for the West, a deluge of moisture. The atmospheric river setting up later on today. Heavy rain, strong winds increase tonight, especially into Tuesday. Again, Northern California, that's where we're seeing the highest amounts of rain today. And then it expands into Southern California tomorrow. Winds gusting up to 55 miles per hour. Could see some power outages there as well. Plenty of brighter colors, so oranges and reds and yellows in the state of California tomorrow. That means we're going to see a lot of rain, and that's why we have the potential for some flooding and some flash flooding. And Wednesday, we'll see it move off to the east as we clear through the Rockies, and we'll see the rain and snow showers slowly coming to an end. So guys, lots going on. We'll talk more about it in the next hour, but we're looking at 2 storm systems on either coast.
Wow, yeah, wet weekend on both coasts. All right, Michelle, thank you so much. Turning now to San Diego and a tragedy there. 2 suspected smuggling boats crashed off the California coast this weekend, killing at least 8 people. The crash marks one of the deadliest migrant smuggling incidents to ever occur in the area. The search is now underway for at least 7 other people involved in the crash. NBC News correspondent Jesse Kirsch has the details.
At least 8 people are dead in San Diego, and possibly more than a dozen are unaccounted for after authorities say a pair of suspected smuggling boats capsized. Some of the victims were Mexican, according to the consulate.
This is one of the worst maritime smuggling tragedies that I can think of in California, certainly here in the city of San Diego.
Officials say a Spanish speaker called 911.
What's coming in as a rescue call?
That person reported that there were approximately 15 people and 8 people on 2 vessels that had overturned.
Officials say high tide made it harder for lifeguards to reach the victims, with low visibility limiting overnight searches by air. Eventually, first responders discovering 2 overturned boats, finding adult bodies on the beach and in the water.
There's long inshore holes. So if you step into those holes, those rip currents will pull you along the shore and then back out to sea.
With conditions improving, the search expanding.
Sadly, this tragedy continues and has been happening for quite some time.
Officials did not say where the boats came from, but suspect this was human trafficking, a crime they say has skyrocketed in the area recently, with 23 people being killed at sea in Southern California since 2021 alone.
This is not necessarily people trying to find a better life. These people are often labor trafficked and sex trafficked.
Lives perhaps already under duress, now cut short. Jesse Kirsch, NBC News.
This morning, former Vice President Mike Pence is blasting his former boss for his role in the January 6th insurrection. On Saturday, Pence said he had no right to overturn the 2020 election and that former President Donald Trump's, quote, reckless words endangered his family and everyone at the U.S. Capitol. He went on to say he expects history will hold the former president accountable for the riots. The remarks were Pence's sharpest condemnation yet, and they come amid speculation he may enter the 2024 race for president against former President Donald Trump.
New York prosecutors could soon decide whether former President Trump should face charges in connection to hush money paid to adult performer Stormy Daniels back in 2016. It would be the first criminal case ever brought against an ex-president. This weekend, Trump released a statement on his Truth social media platform. It says, in part, they fall back on the old and rebuke case, which has been rejected by every prosecutor's office that has looked at this, where I relied on counsel in order to resolve this extortion of me, which took place a long time ago. NBC News legal analyst Glenn Kirshner joins us now. So the question we all want to know, in your opinion, what's the likelihood of a grand jury indicting the former president this week?
Well, you know, Joe, I don't know about this week, but the likelihood that Donald Trump will finally be criminally indicted, I think, has gone way up once we heard that Alvin Bragg's prosecutors had invited Donald Trump to appear before the grand jury. What I can tell you is in these long, involved, often white-collar criminal investigations before a grand jury, the last thing prosecutors will do is invite the target of the investigation, that is, the person they're intending to indict, to appear before the grand jury, because it's at that point that the prosecutors have all of the evidence in hand. They've heard from the other witnesses, they've subpoenaed all of the other documents and records, and they are prepared to question the target of the investigation if the target takes them up on the invitation to testify. And prosecutors do that because we want to give the target of the investigation the opportunity to perhaps explain that he's done nothing wrong, committed no crimes. Now, I will say, Joe, rarely do targets take us up on that invitation because they have a privilege against self-incrimination, and they would rather save whatever evidence they have to try to defend themselves at trial.
So, Glenn, the prosecutor here, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, was on MSNBC's Politics Nation with Al Sharpton over the weekend. He's received some criticism for why it's taken so long for this investigation to take off. Let's listen to what he had to say about that.
We have an active investigation. Many observed last year the trial of the Trump Organization. And so what I would say is the same team is working with the same type of professionalism and rigor. I'm constrained from saying anything more than that because I don't want to prejudice any investigation. We follow the facts. Doesn't matter what party you are, doesn't matter your background. What did you do and what does the law say?
So, Glenn, amid this criticism, what do you make of his comments there?
I think the criticism is well placed, Joe, because this is I would call this a lesser charge. These hush money payments, they're serious. They appear to be criminal. But let's remember, Alvin Bragg's prosecutors brought charges against the Trump Organization, the organization that bears his name, for a 15-year-long criminal scheme to defraud in the first degree, a massive tax fraud scheme. And the Trump Organization was convicted. Of course, the prosecutors who were working that investigation recommended to Bragg that Donald Trump should be sitting at defense table charged in that case, and Bragg killed that investigation at that time for reasons that are entirely unclear. So I'm not going to say this is too little too late. I'm glad Bragg is moving forward on at least some charges against Donald Trump, but I think we're going to have to see how this trial plays out and then assess whether the criticism of Bragg's decisions is fair or unfair.
A key player in all this is Trump's former attorney lawyer Michael Cohen. He did meet with the DA on Friday. He's expected to testify before a grand jury today. He spoke with our cameras as he headed into court on Friday. Let's listen to that.
I have to applaud District Attorney Bragg for giving Donald the opportunity to come in and to tell his story. Now, knowing Donald as well as I do, understand that he doesn't tell the truth. It's one thing to turn around and to lie on your untruth social. It's another thing to turn around and lie before a grand jury. So I don't suspect that he's going to be coming.
Quickly, Glenn, your thoughts on Michael Cohen's comments?
You know, I think it's finally time for Michael Cohen to appear before the grand jury. The prosecutors in New York have met with him reportedly 20 times. He can be a challenging witness because he committed crimes himself. And now the prosecutors are going to ultimately present him to a jury and ask a jury to credit him. But when he says, look, I committed crimes, some of them were at the direction of and for the benefit of Donald Trump, that's the kind of thing that usually resonates with a trial jury.
All right, Glenn Kirshner, thank you for your analysis this morning. We appreciate it.
Coming up on Morning News Now, spring breakers beware. This morning, state officials in Texas warning travelers to avoid going to Mexico. More on the warning after a kidnapping that left 2 Americans dead.
And developing overnight, tensions rising as the U.S. and South Korea kick off their biggest joint military drill in years. We'll bring you the latest after the break.
Welcome back. Millions of Americans are gearing up for spring break. But if your plans include a trip to Mexico, Texas state officials say you should reconsider. They are now asking Americans to avoid traveling to the country because of recent violence. NBC News correspondent Guad Venegas has the story.
As spring breakers flood popular tourist destinations in Mexico,
it's vacation, it's beautiful, it's paradise.
Texas state officials urging residents to avoid travel to the country. The Department of Public Safety saying drug cartel violence and other criminal activity represent a significant threat.
Obviously, the border is a very different place than Cancun. It's much more tourist-based, so it feels a lot more homey and a lot more safer here.
The advisory coming after 4 Americans were kidnapped and 2 of them killed in Mexico.
Mexico, here we come.
This video showing the group while on their journey before the attack. Yet, the U.S. Department of State's latest guidance only lists 6 Mexican states under a do not travel advisory. Destinations like Cabo and Cancun remain in a level 2 advisory, warning visitors to exercise increased caution.
For someone that has already planned their travel, would you advise them to reconsider or cancel their travel later this month?
Take everything on a case-by-case basis. This is an individual decision that has to be made based on what you learn about the resort area you're going to. Stay away from level 4 State Department do not travel states. Reconsider any travel to the level 3 category states from the State Department.
Back in Texas, the FBI is also investigating the disappearance of 3 U.S. residents who crossed into Mexico 3 weeks ago and never returned.
They were going towards to a flea market to sell some clothing articles. One of the lady's husband was in constant communication. Then all of a sudden lost contact.
Yet thousands of Americans are expected to arrive at Mexican hotspot destinations. And for those that do decide to make the trip into Mexico, it's recommended to turn on location services on cell phones and share that with someone in the U.S. Also, communicate with the resort or hotel where you're staying. Find out if there's any airport transports to get to and from the airport safely, and register with the nearest consulate if possible. Back to you.
Wad Venegas, thank you so much.
U.S. officials are denying allegations by Iran's top diplomat that both countries have reached an agreement over a prisoner swap. Iran's foreign minister made the claim in an interview with state TV yesterday without offering any evidence or specific details. NBC News Tehran bureau chief and correspondent Ali Arouzi joins us now with more on this. Ali, good to have you with us. So we know indirect talks over a prisoner exchange have been ongoing, as NBC News reported a month ago. Walk us through what exactly Iran's foreign minister has alleged here.
Good morning, Joe. That's right. Yesterday, Iran's foreign minister, Amir Abdollahian, said that Tehran is in the final stages, on the cusp of finalizing a prisoner swap with the U.S., claiming that progress on a highly sensitive and significant issue had been made. He added that they have reached an agreement and that if everything goes well on the American side, an exchange could be done in very short order. Speaking on state TV, he added that Iran was ready while the U.S. was still working on what he said was the final technical coordination. Now, Iran has long said that it's ready for a prisoner swap as long as the deal releases Iranian funds held in South Korea. More than $7 billion of Iranian oil revenue is frozen in 2 South Korean banks because of American sanctions. But state media last week, interestingly, Joe, said that the release of the funds had been agreed and that the prisoner exchange was imminent. Clearly, that doesn't seem to be the case right now.
Yeah, Ali, so we mentioned that U.S. officials are denying Iran's claims. What exactly is the State Department saying here? And then what is Tehran's reaction to that denial?
Sure. Well, within hours of Iran issuing that statement, it was refuted by U.S. officials. They say that Iran was simply lying, that they didn't hesitate to make things up, and that this was just another especially cruel lie that only adds to the suffering of the families. Whilst insisting this was a false claim, the State Department also reiterated that Washington was committed to securing the release of Americans held in Iran. Let's take a listen to what Ned Price, State Department spokesman, had to say. Okay, so I don't think we have that, but Ned Price was saying that they're going to be working very hard on getting all of these Americans held in Iran back to the U.S. He even named them by name. But the spokesman for the Iranian Foreign Ministry weighed in again today after the U.S. denied the deal was on the cards, saying that since last March, an agreement had been signed between the two sides through an intermediary regarding the exchange for prisoners. Look, Iran is prone to making these statements that don't hold much water. They've made various claims over the last year over the economy, nuclear deal, foreign relations that just haven't rung true, and that's mostly for domestic consumption. The economy, the social situation, especially after the protests, is in a terrible situation, and they want to try and revive that a little bit, especially as Iran heads into Persian New Year, the most important holiday of the year for Iranians at the end of April.
And Ali, very quickly, let's talk about the humans here, the citizens who are being held in Iran. What do we know about them?
Well, the Islamic Republic is holding at least 3 Iranian-American dual nationals in its prisons: Siamak Namazi, Ahmad Sharghi, and Morad Tabaz. They've all been charged with espionage, endangering national security, and have been given lengthy jail sentences. They all say that they are innocent of these charges, but Siamak Namazi has recently issued a statement saying that their situation is very desperate.
All right, Ali Arouzi. Ali, thank you as always for your reporting.
Thanks.
The United States and South Korea have begun their biggest joint military drills in 5 years. It comes one day after North Korea test-fired 2 cruise missiles, seemingly in response to the exercises. NBC News foreign correspondent Josh Letterman joins us now from the South Korean capital of Seoul. So, Josh, tell us a little bit about what these drills involve, how long are they expected to last, and why are they taking place now?
Well, they're 11 days long with no breaks. They involve things, Ellison, like live artillery fire exercises, amphibious landings, and computerized simulations of defending against an attack from North Korea. And they're happening now because they have really been scaled back over the last 5 years or so. First, when former President Trump was pursuing diplomacy with Kim Jong-un, and the South Korean government at the time was very pro-engagement with the North. And then, of course, there was the COVID-19 pandemic. But last year, North Korea fired more missiles than any year before, and the tensions really have been rising here on the Korean Peninsula. That's one reason the U.S. and South Korea are working now to demonstrate their joint ability to defend against a potential North Korean attack.
You mentioned that North Korea fired more missile tests last year than they have any other year. What do you make of the missiles that they have most recently fired? What do we know about those tests, and has there been any sort of reaction from other nations in the region?
So we know that yesterday, just as these exercises were about to kick off, North Korea launched 2 submarine-based missiles, cruise missiles, from a sub off the coast of North Korea. According to state media in Pyongyang, they flew for about 2 hours, making figure-8 circles before eventually reaching their target. South Korea's military has confirmed at least one of those launches. They say they are working closely with the U.S. and with intelligence agencies both in Seoul and in Washington to figure out exactly what was launched and to make sure that they are ready to defend against that and any other threat.
Talk to us a little bit about North Korea and the possibility of nuclear test. What is the likelihood that we could see something like that soon?
Yeah, that is really the scenario that this region is bracing for right now. And just last week, the United States, in its annual U.S. intelligence community threat assessment, said that it's likely that North Korea may be planning what would be a 7th nuclear test. And U.S. intelligence says that North Korea is working at this point to try to get the U.S. to accept it as a de facto member of the international nuclear community. Because remember, North Korea already has nuclear warheads. What they have not yet done is demonstrate the ability to put them onto a weapon that would be capable of carrying them to the United States. But North Korea apparently trying to gain more acceptance as part of that nuclear club, something the U.S. says, of course, that it will not accept, Ellison.
Okay. Josh Letterman, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Now to an NBC News exclusive. About 5 months after taking his historic seat in office as Britain's first Asian Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak sat down with nightly news anchor Lester Holt. It is the UK leader's first U.S. interview since assuming his new role. He discussed the threat from China. Take a listen.
Prime Minister, the U.S. is concerned that China may provide weapons to Russia with regard to the Ukraine war. If that were to happen, what should the response be?
That would be a very worrying and dangerous development. And I think the strong message that the UK, the US, and all countries have said to China, but to any country, is not to support Russia in this conflict. They are clearly an aggressor. They have broken the law. What they're doing is appalling, and no other countries should be trying to support them.
Would you support sanctions against China?
Yeah, I think with sanctions, it's always something that is best done coordinated with allies, because for sanctions to be effective, we have to do them together. The strong message I'd say to the international community is continue to isolate Russia, because what they're doing is illegal, it's wrong, and provide support to Ukraine quickly, because with that they can really make a breakthrough in this war and bring this conflict to an end.
And you can catch more of Lester's exclusive interview tonight on NBC Nightly News.
All right, coming up, let the madness begin. We are talking about March Madness, of course.
But before you fill out those brackets, we're going to break down some of the biggest contenders in college hoops, plus the teams you don't want to sleep on. This is Morning News Now. Welcome back. It is time to get your brackets ready. March Madness is officially here.
Selection Sunday is now in the rearview mirror, with Alabama getting the overall #1 seed and Houston, Kansas, and Purdue rounding out the other #1 seeds for the men. And while the odds of a perfect bracket are 1 in 9 quintillion, give or take, we can dream, can't we? So for more on this, we are joined by NBC Sports host Corey Robinson. Corey, thank you so much for being here. First of all, for those of us who are about to fill out their bracket, who are your top picks? What's your advice? Where do we go?
I mean, first of all, it's funny.
there's, like you said, there's no chance that you're probably going to get everything correct.
Really? I've never seen that many digits on a screen before.
Big number, didn't know how to pronounce it, so I was like, I just gave up after a while. The key is to have fun with your friends, right? Like me and my family, normally we do like a bracket, you put it on the fridge, right? And it's like, okay, maybe, you know, if I can beat you, then I win, you know?
Right, yeah.
So, the problem, though, is when you go for your alma maters, like I'm a Notre Dame fan, it's unlikely. so you have to play a little smart. So the way to do it is think about the number 1 seeds. Basketball and men's basketball, generally speaking, the upsets happen early on. But, like, you know, Kansas is going to get there to the Final Four. Alabama's going to get there. I do think Purdue will not. I do think they'll get upset. And I do think Duke is going to end up winning their quadrant. So, like, there are a couple, like, areas where you think, okay, well, maybe there's some room for upsets later on. But for the most part, Blue Bloods will get there.
Okay, so talk to us about underdogs. I went to Wofford College, and I love the underdogs. I mean, it was a huge year. I was in school the first time we ever made it to the big dance. Huge thing, tiny school, not supposed to happen. What underdogs are you watching?
I think you might have to go to the women's side to find the underdogs, and they're UCLA and Tennessee. They did really nice in the tournament. They upset Stanford and LSU, respectively. And that's a big deal. You know, Stanford is, like, I think they're going to get to the Final Four again. So I think if you're looking for an underdog, UCLA and Tennessee are your best bets. But for the most part, it's like South Carolina's going to win. You know, like it's going to be very difficult to beat South Carolina. They haven't lost in over a year. Like, they're just unbelievable. Don Stalin coaches the Olympic team. Aaliyah Boston's the best player in the country. Like, no one's going to beat South Carolina, most likely.
All right, so if you have your bracket there, that's something to keep in mind. All right, so we're rounding out Oscar season here, so I like to use the word snub all the time. So let's use the word snub here. Was there anyone who should have made it into the brackets and didn't?
Well, I would say there's a notable absence, and that notable absence is North Carolina. I mean, Kansas and North Carolina playing in the national championship on the men's side last year. Kansas is still, you know, locked up the number 1 seed. I think they're going to go back to the Final Four, perhaps repeat. I mean, it's going to be pretty tough. But North Carolina is nowhere to be found. They actually turned down the invitation to the NIT tournament. They're just like, we're done. And think about what that, like, how do you have 2 different paths like that, right? National championship to then not even in the tournament. And that's kind of, that was very shocking for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So you touched on this a little bit earlier, but talk to us about who you are watching in terms of women's teams. Is there any standout player we should be keeping an eye on? Who's your top pick?
Well, like I said, Aaliyah Boston, you have no idea like how amazing she is. The South Carolina team, they just they're the new UConn. You know, like it's that level. I do think, speaking of UConn, they were injury-riddled last year. Somehow, despite all odds, you know, they end up going to the national championship game and losing against South Carolina. They're also in the same kind of situation right now. So I do think, despite their injuries, they could still go far. But the one that I'm looking for on the women's side is Iowa. Caitlin Clark is sensational. She had a 30-point triple-double in the championship game, in the conference championship game. I mean, she's like unbelievable. So I think they can actually upset Stanford and win that quadrant, and I think they could actually perhaps beat South Carolina.
And on the men's side, do you have a pick? Who's going to win it all? Who's cutting down the net?
It's so tough. For me, I do think it's going to come down to, you know, I think it's going to be Alabama, and I think it's going to be Kansas. So I think Kansas is going to repeat, but I do have my eyes on Duke. I think they're going to upset and win their quadrant. And it's funny because they beat Miami, who was the regular season ACC champs. They won the ACC tournament, and they're peaking at the right time. And Kyle Filipowski is like a real, legit 7-foot like superstar. I think they can go to the Final Four this year. And I think they might upset some people.
All right. So
I wrote it down so I can hopefully upset in my house.
I was just going to put on the fridge and be like, you've got a bunch of basketball fans watching, you have a bunch of people who haven't watched a single game this year who are like, oh, I want to be an expert in this now.
I wrote it down. I got it. Alabama, Kansas.
All right. Corey Robinson, as always, thank you for joining us this morning. We appreciate it. Coming up, an added struggle for breast cancer survivors.
Yeah, up next here on Morning News Now, why some patients are facing pushback from insurance companies over a popular reconstructive surgery.
It's estimated that every year in this country, 100,000 people get mastectomies.
Many of them are done because the person is at high risk or already has breast cancer. But now some insurance companies are making it harder for people who are already going through so much to get a popular type of reconstructive breast surgery. NBC News correspondent Emilia Queta has more.
Jessica Hezekiah found out she had breast cancer back in October of 2020.
You're stunned to know that at 34, I've got left breast cancer. So that started my journey.
After getting a mastectomy, removing her left breast, going through chemo and 33 rounds of radiation, she decided to get reconstructive surgery.
This was absolutely necessary for me. I kept my right one because there's nothing wrong with it. So when you have that unilateral appearance, it does something to you.
She opted for something called deep flap surgery, where a doctor uses the patient's blood vessels, fat, and skin from their stomach to reconstruct the breast without damaging their abdominal muscle. And for Jessica, the surgery was life-changing.
This is me again. I'm living, right? I'm no longer just going to my treatments. I'm a person again. I'm myself. I'm beautiful, right? This is my new mold.
Now, more breast cancer patients are choosing to get reconstructive breast surgeries. In 2020, about 17% were deep flap. Dr. Elizabeth Potter calls it the gold standard.
It's really the culmination of many years of refinement of surgical techniques, and it creates a lifelong reconstruction for a patient with living tissue that does not involve an implant.
A few years ago, Dr. Potter says the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services changed the billing code for the procedure, prompting some insurance companies to drastically slash reimbursements for deep flap surgery, making it really tough for the average person to afford.
We live in the best country to have great physicians learn their craft, to be good at it, to provide you with the best outcome, least complications, to then say, but how much money do you have?
And paying out of pocket can be expensive. It can cost upwards of $50,000, according to medical experts.
Wealthy women around the country will always have access to reconstruction using their own tissue. Make no mistake about that. This insurance change is challenging the access of women who need care through insurance. And honestly, that's most patients.
Nearly half of people with breast cancer in a new survey called out-of-pocket costs a significant or catastrophic burden.
We didn't ask to get cancer, so I feel like the insurance company is taking away an option that we could have that would help us be more normal.
It's a little alarming and concerning. I've never faced something like this before where it was covered and now it's not.
The Women's Health and Cancer Rights Act from 1998 says insurance group plans that cover mastectomies must also cover all stages of reconstruction of the breast. So how did we get here? Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, a breast cancer survivor herself, says a lot of finger pointing.
For this bureaucracy to have blown up the opportunity in many cases for women to have a less impactful, physically less impactful surgery that is going to use their natural tissue is just unacceptable, and they have to work it out.
We need to ensure that women around the country don't just have coverage, but have access to reconstruction. And we need to ensure that women around the country are fully informed of their options at the time of diagnosis.
Our thanks to Emily Akeda for that report. When it comes to why this is happening, the answer is a little bit murky. The Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services says the American Association of Plastic Surgeons actually requested the change, but that group blames insurers for limiting patients' access. Meanwhile, several insurance companies we reached out to maintain the change in code does not change patients' out-of-pocket costs. We'll keep an eye on it.
Time now for a look at what else is making financial headlines this morning, starting with more possible layoffs at Meta.
Yes, CNBC's Silvana Henao joins us now with more. Good morning.
Hey guys, good morning. Yeah, so Meta Platforms is planning additional layoffs to be announced in multiple rounds in the coming months. The Wall Street Journal reports they would roughly be the same magnitude as the 13% cuts Meta made last year. The new rounds will likely hit non-engineering roles, and Meta is expected to shut down some projects and teams, including some wearable devices that were in the works. General Motors is exploring uses for ChatGPT as part of a broader collaboration with Microsoft. A GM executive telling Reuters last week, ChatGPT could be used to access information on how to use the features of your car or truck that are normally found in an owner's manual. It could also program functions such as a garage door code or integrate schedules from a calendar. Reports say GM is working on a virtual personal assistant that uses AI technology behind ChatGPT. And we all scream for more Scream at the box office. The 6th installment of the long-running slasher series scaring up more than $44 million in its opening weekend, according to ComScore, and that's enough to top the competition. It's also the best opening for any of the Scream movies in the franchise, guys.
Who needs Halloween to have a scary movie?
I was going to confess, I've never seen
Any of them?
Any of them?
Oh my
I'm so
God.
ashamed.
You have to go
There's
back to the-
6.
I've seen at least 2.
Okay, all right. Well, we can watch the new one together, Silvana. Thank
There
you
you go.
so much.
We'll watch you watching it.
Yeah.
You scream. All right.
Thanks, Silvana.
Coming up on Morning News Now, let's keep the Hollywood theme going. History in Hollywood.
After the break, we'll bring you the highlights from this year's Academy Awards, from the standout winners to some significant shutouts. Stay with us. You're watching Morning News Now.
We're back with a full circle moment at the Oscars as Ke Huy Quan and Harrison Ford shared an emotional hug. It has been 39 years since they starred together in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Well, last night the actors were reunited on stage during the show's biggest moment. Ford was presenting the Best Picture Oscar Award to Quan's movie Everything Everywhere All at Once, and they recreated that same hug they gave each other all those years ago. Just one of many amazing moments surrounding that movie in
Yeah, I was
particular.
gonna say, believe it or not, that was just one incredible moment from what was an incredible night in Hollywood as movie stars came together to celebrate some of the top movies of the year.
And
You
from-
stayed up for it.
I did stay up for it. From historic wins to powerhouse performances, no shortage of entertainment at the Oscars this year. Here to highlight some of the big Oscar moments is Vanity Fair staff writer Aaron Vanderhoof. Thank you so much for joining us. So let's walk through basically the big winners. Everything Everywhere came out huge last night. What were the most notable wins?
So Everything Everywhere All at Once, it is actually it's the first movie since Network in 1976 to get 3 Oscar categories, to get 3 acting categories.
Yeah.
Biggest winner
been that long.
ever.
Wow, my goodness.
And I think that hug between Ke Huy Quan and Harrison Ford underlines, I think, exactly how unexpected it was that it premiered a year ago at South by Southwest. It's a genre film. It doesn't have the big, names in the middle, but it got so much love. It got so much support from A24, and it really just, it was the internet's, most argued about movie of the year, which I think is a good sign. You got Brendan Fraser, who won for The Whale, another win for A24. I think that they're a smaller film studio that they have just really put themselves out there as we're trying to do unusual films and good actors.
It was really a year of the comeback, really, when you look at that between Ke Huy Quan, a child star coming back from 2 decades away, Brendan Fraser having this great moment, too.
I think I went to bed early, as I confessed here, and did not watch all of it. But the first thing I did when I got up was go back and watch Ke Huy Quan's speech. And I think we have a little bit of that we can play because it was one of quite a few very emotional speeches. Let's listen.
My journey started on a boat. I spent a year in a refugee camp. And somehow, I ended up here on Hollywood's biggest stage. They say stories like this only happen in the movies. I cannot believe it's happening to me. This is the American dream.
I have chills again just listening to that bit. What speeches stood out to you? Did any make you feel emotional?
Oh, it was the night of the moms. I feel like almost every single mother got a shout out, which made sense as Everything Everywhere All at Once is a movie about motherhood and about the relationship between moms and kids. But Ruth E. Carter, she won again for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Her mother died just about a week ago. She was 101, and she ended her speech with just the most touching moment. She says, "Watch out for Chadwick," honoring Chadwick Boseman, the late star of the first Black Panther, and that was such a poignant moment. And along with performances like Rihanna's to honor Chadwick, I think that good to feel his energy in there.
Another wonderful moment was when Jamie Lee Curtis, who's had this incredible long career, wins for Best Supporting Actress. I think it was the expected win, but still, there's always talk on social media where people say, "Hey, why not Angela Bassett, who would have won hers, or the younger Stephanie Hsu, who was in Everything Everywhere All at Once with Jamie Lee Curtis, got the Oscar so white hashtag going a little bit." We should keep in mind 2 of the 4 actors who won were actors of color. Still, there was some controversy there, right?
I think that in the movie, the Stephanie Hsu's role in it is just so fundamental and was so viral that I think it is kind of hard to imagine if you're putting those 2 people together. But at Vanity Fair, we predicted it because Jamie Lee Curtis took home the SAG a couple weeks ago, and that's if you're going to get the SAG, you're going to get the Oscar usually. And so part of the issue though is that Angela Bassett, first person to ever get an acting nomination for a Marvel film, And so, I think that there's like feelings around that. But I think in Jamie Lee Curtis's sense, she's been saying she's the original Nepo baby. Her father, Tony Curtis, her mother, Janet Leigh, both nominees who never won. And she also used her speech to talk about the importance of genre film. And I think that Everything Everywhere All at Once is just like such a fun mashup of genres. So like giving it to like Hollywood history, who also has a history in, as a scream queen, I think is like, it's a narrative that really makes sense to the Oscars.
Talk to us about the musical performance. What stood out to you?
Very quickly here, by the way.
Yes.
I mean, two of the biggest pop stars, Rihanna, Lady Gaga took off all of her makeup. You got 14-time nominee Diane Warren. You got David Byrne. But at the end of the day, Natu Natu, amazing performance. It's very obvious why this, Southern Indian film, the song from it, you can tell why that took home their Best Original Song Oscar.
The film was called RRR. You can check it out on Netflix, too, so if you want to see it.
Amazing. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
And that does it for this hour of Morning News Now.
The news continues right now.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.